Mass Effect 4, the next Mass Effect. I'm not sure what we're calling it right now, but I'm sure there'll be lots of new shiny things that will make our adventures around whatever galaxy or galaxies we are in all the more enjoyable. However, there are a few annoyances from the first few Shepard games I'd love to see fixed in the next instalment of the series. Starship Fuel. In the Mass Effect universe, you use up fuel as the Normandy flies around between solar systems in the same galaxy in whatever part of space you're currently saving the universe in. It's a little counter that ticks down in the corner, and it must be replenished if you wish to continue voyaging through the stars. There's nothing particularly wrong with that, and you'd be right to ask me why I find that a problem. But firstly, I question the use of fuel being used at all. Surely you'd have thought that in the age of Mass Effect, starships would be running off something that is entirely renewable, or at least is some kind of clean variant of some kind of nuclear fuel that would keep the ship running for longer without having to be refueled constantly. The rate at which it decreases is quite alarming, and you have to refuel a lot. Now I get that Mass Effect isn't alone here with this. Similar concept exists in a lot of space exploration games, and I suppose it's mainly there to stop you progressing too quickly and being able to get from place to place too easily. But in the universe of Mass Effect it does feel a little bit unnecessary. Also, we then ask the question of, well, what happens if you run out of fuel? Is the Normandy abandoned, left floating in space until the end of time, a relic and a warning to other spacefaring folk? Or does the Alliance prioritise a rescue mission laden with precious fuel to get you up and running again? Well, no. In Mass Effect 1, fuel doesn't exist as a concept at all, and in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3, I assume it's EDI takes direct control of the Normandy and flies you back to the nearest fuel station so that you can get refueled. It just costs you a chunk of resources or a chunk of credits, and then we never really get talked about again. We never get told off for running out of fuel too frequently or anything like that. So all in all, I think either go down the route of Mass Effect 1 and remove fuel altogether, or have a think about what the consequences could be of running out of fuel in Mass Effect 4. The wrong weapons being displayed in cutscenes. So, over the hours of gameplay that you've put into Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, you've probably crafted your Shepard to be whatever you want him or her to be. They might be absolutely awesome with a sniper rifle, or they might get up close and personal with a shotgun. Shepard's skills of the weapon unlock all sorts of things, like being able to slow down time as you zoom down a scope, or use all sorts of different ammunition to harm and weaken your foes in different ways. So it's nice then when you get a little cutscene, and here comes Shepard wielding... hang on a minute, that's not the gun they were wielding, that's the M8 Avenger from the first level. I've not touched it since because it was literally the only other gun I had other than a pistol. Yeah, I find it a bit of a strange one. In all honesty, it isn't really a big deal at all. I suppose it breaks the immersion a little bit, and you always are a little bit disappointed when you've equipped an awesome weapon and Shepard turns up on screen wielding something that was given to you on the first level and hasn't been much use since. The bigger question for me really with this one is, why does it happen? The other characters and Shepard's armour in the cutscenes are the ones that you've customised or that you've changed, but the weapon sometimes just seems to cut back to that original M8 Avenger or pistol that we had on the first level. Don't really understand why it happens. It's really not a game breaker, just a little annoyance that I'd love to see fixed. Spaceflight. Spaceflight in Mass Effect 1 isn't really a thing. There's no actual Normandy that flies around space or the galaxy map. You just kind of look at the map and put where you want to go, and you get a little cutscene of a mass relay jump or a planetary landing. In 2 and 3 there is a little ship that you can fly around the galaxy through various solar systems and bodies before zapping through a mass relay and out to another location, sometimes with a Reaper chasing you if you're playing Mass Effect 3, and you got a little overzealous with your scanners. My biggest bugbear with space travel in Mass Effect is it doesn't really feel like spaceflight. You click and hold a mouse button, or you kind of zoom around with your gamepad, and the Normandy just effortlessly floats to wherever you want it to go. Until the Reaper invasion in Mass Effect 3, the only real threat in space is running out of fuel or probes for scanning planets, but as we mentioned earlier in the video, it doesn't really have a big penalty attached. I suppose you could argue that this is down to the fact that your character Shepard isn't really flying the Normandy. Instead, she or he is commanding it, and it's Joker that's doing the actual piloting. So maybe the interaction of the player reflects that layer of separation. Planetary landings are via a cutscene, which is a bit of a nod to the Starfield reveal. It never really caused me any problems in Mass Effect. And the mass relay jumps are calculated by, I assume, Joker, though that's possibly making him less of a pilot and more of a calculator. Either way, it'd be nice to feel if you could actually fly the ship in Mass Effect 4 a bit, or maybe pilot some shuttles or something like that as you're adventuring around the galaxy. Scanning and planets. Planetary scanning in Mass Effect has changed a bit over each iteration of the game. In Mass Effect 1, it literally involved looking at a planet and reading the bio, and sometimes you'd receive a pop-up if something had happened or if you got some resources while you were there. You could also choose to land on some planets and go around and explore them in the Mako, God rest its soul. In Mass Effect 2, now we all know planetary scanning in Mass Effect 2 was a pain, and yes, it was needed to collect resources that could have made a difference to your endgame by allowing you to buy upgrades for the Normandy and such, which prevent various companions from being killed off at certain times in the final mission. The mechanics of this involved looking at your planet, holding down a button and then moving a targeting reticule around the planet until you found a hotspot of resources to fire a probe into to recover the resources. This became such a long and tedious process that a number of fan-made mods for the game made this a single-click exercise, where the whole planet's resources would be collected with a single probe. My other problem with this is the probe resource harvesting model. What the hell happens to all the wildlife and the people that happen to be living near where your probe touched down? In Mass Effect 3, scanning planets for resources was retired pretty much, and we ended up somewhere in between 1 and 2, with a visit to a planet allowing you to scan it for assets in some instances, using the reticule to locate a blip on the radar and then click it. Mass Effect 3 also brought the Reaper invasion into play, and gave you a risk-reward mechanic of being able to scan in-system for hidden assets, with the reward being obtaining these war assets for the Resistance. The risk there was that the Reapers would detect your scans and try and catch you. If they do, it's game over if I remember correctly, without so much even as a cool Reaper destroys the Normandy cutscene. Personally, for me, I think the ME3 version of scanning and planetary exploration, I say in inverted commas, is my favourite for the 3 variants of the series. I think Andromeda stuck to this method a bit as well, though obviously without the Reapers.
Really, Commander? Probing Uranus.
So, there are a few changes that will make my shepherding a sheer delight when the new game drops in, 2047. Thanks for watching. If there's any little annoyances in Mass Effect or other games you'd like to see sorted, why not drop them in the comments, and I'll catch you all on the Citadel.